The Sony ZV lineup of cameras has something for everyone, and in today's video for Alpha Universe, we'll take a look at the highlights of each camera and try to figure out which is the camera that's right for you. As we talk about each camera in the lineup, I'm actually going to be using that exact same camera to film with to give you a little bit of an idea of what it looks like, and not only that, what it sounds like. All of the audio that you're hearing throughout this video is going to be coming directly from the camera, no external microphones or anything like that, to give you an idea of what you're able to capture with the built-in microphones on each of these cameras. So with that being said, the B-roll that you're gonna see of each camera obviously is gonna have to be filmed with a different camera, so I'll put on the screen which camera I use to film the B-roll, but outside of that, all of the talking parts are going to be filmed with that specific ZV camera. So with that said, let's take a look at the first camera in the lineup. To get things kicked off, let's take a look at the entry level into the ZV family, which is the Sony ZV-1F. And listen, this is a big step up coming from a smartphone because you're getting some really cool things in this little camera. First things first, you've got a 1-inch sensor, which is much bigger than what you would find inside of a smartphone. You've got a fixed 20mm f2 lens. So really bright, great for shooting stuff outdoors, great for shooting stuff in low light situations. Really nice camera to get you started if you're coming from using a smartphone for shooting your vlogs and for shooting your videos. Of course, with this camera, you also get Sony's eye autofocus feature, which is gonna make sure that you, as the person who is being filmed, that you're in focus, that you're sharp. And so that's one of the things that really shines in the Sony ZV family is the autofocus features, and you do get eye autofocus with this camera. You also get the ability to use this camera for live streaming. So you could actually plug in the ZV-1F into your computer, your laptop, and you could utilize this camera as your webcam. So that's really gonna step up the quality of your live streams, of your Zoom calls. So it's a very versatile camera. You could use it for your vlogging and you could use it for your live streams. There is one other thing that I think is also worth mentioning with the ZV-1F, and that's the ability for you to use S-Log3. Now, if you're new to video, especially if you're coming from a smartphone, S-Log3 is gonna allow you to be able to capture a flat looking video, but then in post-production, you could actually bring out the details in the shadows, bring out details in the highlights, and this is something that as you move up in the ZV family of cameras, you're probably gonna end up doing. But what's great is that even in the entry level, you have S-Log3, so you have the ability to start to learn how to work with S-Log footage. All right, so now let's talk about the ZV-1 Mark II. And like the ZV-1F, it's got a 1-inch sensor. It's a 20.1 megapixel resolution for your stills. And so you're still gonna be able to get great quality just like you can with that ZV-1F. But there's one big difference, which is that you have an 18 to 50 millimeter f1.8 to f4 zoom lens. So now you have the ability to create some different compositions. You can get a lot wider than you can with the ZV-1F, and you're able to zoom in, which is really great. Another big difference is that this camera does have a hot shoe on it. So you do have the ability to use things like external flashes with this camera. And I will tell you that even though this is a vlogging camera, I love shooting stills with it. It's one of my favorite everyday walk around stills cameras. So don't discount it just because it's considered a vlogging camera, because all of these cameras in the lineup are all fantastic for shooting stills. Now, one of the big things that you get with the ZV-1 Mark II is the built-in ND filter. So if you plan on shooting at those wide open apertures, now you have the ability to be able to use the electronic ND that's built into this camera to get you the correct exposure. I think if you're looking for something that's compact, that has flexibility and being able to get you different focal ranges, the ZV-1 Mark II is going to be a fantastic option. Now let's talk about the next ZV camera in the lineup, which is the ZV-E10. Now with this camera, you are stepping into a little bit of a bigger camera, not too much bigger, but you get a bigger sensor. You get an APS-C size sensor. It is 24.2 megapixels, which basically is going to mean that you're going to get a much better looking image. You're going to get much better looking stills. And with that bigger sensor, you're going to get better sensitivity in low light as well compared to that 1-inch sensor. So now you're stepping into more of a professional, more of a serious type of vlogging camera because you also have the ability to change lenses. Now with the ZV-1F and ZV-1 Mark II, they have lenses that are built in. With this camera body, you're going to have to go out and get the lens that's right for you. For example, right now I'm shooting this with the Sony 10 to 20 millimeter G series lens. It's a constant f4 aperture, which I think for vlogging is fantastic, especially paired up with this body. It's a really nice compact size for vlogging. Now with the ZV-E10, there is another really cool feature with this camera is that you not only have a microphone jack, but you also have a headphone jack. So you have the ability to monitor your audio, which on the ZV-1F and the ZV-1 Mark II, there is no headphone jack, it's just a microphone jack. So this is the first camera in the lineup that gives you the ability to monitor your audio when you're recording. Another thing that's notable here is that this is the first ZV camera in that lineup that we've talked about today that has the digital audio interface. So with that multi-interface hot shoe that's on top of the camera, you now have the ability to use some of Sony's microphones. And what's really great about these microphones is that you could put them onto the hot shoe. You don't have to hook up any type of microphone cables or anything like that. You're getting power through the hot shoe. It's transferring the audio digitally through the hot shoe, which is just fantastic. It's really going to step up the audio in your videos. Again, the audio that you've been listening to throughout this video, it's coming directly from the camera. So this is what the microphone on the ZV-E10 sounds like without that external microphone. But if you wanted to get even better audio, you have the ability to use one of those external mics. Another thing that I have to say here as well is that with the ZV-E10, you also get a bigger battery. So compared to that ZV-1 Mark II and the ZV-1F, you're going to have the ability to shoot for a little while longer because you do have a much bigger lithium-ion battery. With all that being said, let's take a look at the next camera in the ZV lineup. Now let's talk about the top of the line in the ZV lineup. That is the ZV-E1. Now, up and above the other cameras, once again, you're stepping up into a bigger sensor. You've got a 12 megapixel full frame sensor, very similar to the one found in the Sony Alpha 7S Mark III. And as you already know, that camera is highly touted for its ability to shoot in low light, amazing dynamic range. So in terms of low light capabilities, this is going to be the very best that you can get in the ZV lineup, but it doesn't end there. You see, now you're stepping into high quality video recording. You have the ability to shoot up to 4K 120p. You could do that with 422 10-bit color, which is unbelievable. Once again, if you're trying to get that professional cinematic look, you could definitely do it with those other cameras in the ZV lineup, but the very best quality that you could possibly get and the most versatility that you can get is definitely going to be in the ZV-E1. Now, another one of the big features with the ZV-E1 is the inclusion of AI features because of that dedicated AI processing chip. It's going to bring some really amazing things, the ability for the camera to not only see humans and identify them and keep them in focus, but works for cars, trains, planes, all sorts of other things, insects, animals. So you have the ability to incorporate all of these different things into your videos, and the camera does an amazing job at keeping those in focus. Now, it doesn't end there with those AI-based features. You also have a AI auto reframing, so you could actually take the camera, put it on a tripod, you could walk around, and it's actually going to keep you in the frame. It's going to follow you, it's going to zoom in, and it's going to make it look like you actually have somebody behind the camera. So it's adding a little bit of a additional level of professionalism and quality to your productions without actually having to have someone behind the camera doing it for you. Now, another big feature with the ZV-E1 is the inclusion of dynamic steady shot. And this is something that many other Sony cameras do not have, not just in the ZV lineup, but just in general. There's only, I believe the Alpha 9 III might be the only other camera that has this feature, but you get this very smooth gimbal-like quality to your shots. Like right now, I'm using that dynamic steady shot, just walking with this with a little handle grip, and hopefully you could see that it is very steady, which again is going to add that additional layer of professionalism to your videos. Now I think this might kind of go without saying, but because you have that full frame sensor, you have the ability to add additional lenses to the camera just like you can with the ZV-E10. Sony has amazing glass in their lineup. And for example, I'm using the 16 to 35 millimeter f4 power zoom lens. And with this particular camera body, it actually has a rocker switch where I could actually control the zoom either on the lens itself, or I could actually use the camera body to control the zoom. You could also use the Creator app, which is something that we're going to talk about in another video. But another fantastic thing with this, full frame, you could add full frame lenses to this, and it's just an unbelievable camera for vlogging. I think it's also important to highlight that with this camera, you have the bigger Z series battery. So if you plan on going out for the day, you want to have a camera that's going to give you the most battery life in the ZV lineup, without a doubt, it is going to be the battery that is inside of the ZV-E1. Now, just like the ZV-E10, you've got the multi-interface shoe that has digital audio capabilities, so you could use that external microphone and get even better audio quality than what you're hearing right now. So the ZV-E1, I think, is the tippy top of the line in that vlogging series of cameras. It basically does everything that a serious vlogger would want to do. But I'm curious to know, what questions do you have about the ZV lineup? Leave them in the comments section below. I'll try my best to get to that. While you're here, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to Alpha Universe. We have new videos releasing every single week. Now, I made a video a little while ago that talks about vlogging and kind of gives you a little bit of a head start for shooting your very first vlog. So we're gonna put it up here on the screen. Make sure you check it out, and I'll see you in the next video.